Good morning or good afternoon, whatever time you guys are listening to us. Welcome back to another edition of the Layman's AI podcast. I am Adam.
And my name is Brian.
And today we're doing another series. We're launching another series. We're going to be doing a two-part series on AI and mental health. We know this has been an upcoming topic that we've seen posted on boards before, and we know that there's a lot of people that are using AI for mental health. And we wanted to dive in today and talk about some of the things that we've researched. Full disclosure, as always, we did use AI to help us find some of the things that we are talking about today and how things are being used. We used it to help us a little bit with some research from some universities to see what's going on in the AI world. And we've also known some other things that we've discussed. So this is partially, some of this stuff is generated by AI, and we're going to talk about it. But for the most part, it is based off of experiences and things that we are reading on chat boards, which is pretty interesting. So, Brian, I know you're not exactly in the mental health field, and I'm only acquainted with it because of education. But what are your thoughts initially about AI in mental health?
Cautiously optimistic, I would say.
Mm-hmm.
I
Yeah.
think with any AI tool, it has its place. My kind of fear is overdependency, essentially. I
Mm-hmm.
think is kind of the biggest negative that I can think about it. But in all reality, if you can use sort of an AI tool to sort of talk about your mental health a little bit and just sort of like do like kind of like a surface topic here or anything like that, then I think it has its place,
Mm-hmm.
essentially. I don't want to, say it's going to replace a therapist because, the human connection in therapy is, a very
Right.
critical part when you're going to talk to a therapist. But I know the first sort of response for a lot of people is going to be, no, don't do this. Like, this is
Mm-hmm.
terrible. We're going to be, fused with robots soon. We're taking away humanity. But I would like to kind of stop short of that and say, let's keep an open mind about this and let's talk about how we can integrate this responsibly right now.
Mm-hmm.
And instead of playing pro-reactive down the road. It's
I
kind of my
agree.
thought.
I agree. I think you have a great thought process on this, and I share the same as you. I'm coming from the education side where I've seen some of the troubles from getting students and even parents some mental health resources. It can be very challenging in time, especially some of the areas where you live in the US and probably all over the world. So, for this first part of the episode, or this first part of the series, excuse me, we are going to focus on AI mental health in terms of what's being done, including some of the positives that we've seen about it, some of the research that's already been done. And like we said, you really want to be cautiously optimistic, is the way we are going to approach this, knowing darn well that it's not going to be as good as seeing a human, but maybe some of the problems that people are having doesn't necessarily need a human touch. Maybe it just needs a little bit of a confidence boost or some things like that. So, Brian, if you're ready, we're going to dive into our notes and we're going to go over some current research that we know that's going on, and then we're going to talk about practical uses of AI in mental health.
Let's do it.
Okay. So, for our first one, this one comes from the University of Vanderbilt Medical Center. If you don't know, that's in Tennessee. They've developed an ML algorithm that uses a person's hospital admissions data, including age, gender, and past medical diagnoses, to make 80% accurate prediction whether or not this person is suicidal.
Hmm. Okay.
So it's using the data and then it's finding out if this person is suicidal based off of the data that's already there. And apparently it is 80% accurate. So 4 out of 5. What are your
Hmm.
thoughts on that as we dive in?
That is interesting right there. 80% accurate whether or not this person is suicidal. Um, Going that far, I'm wondering what the reaction is going to be human wise.
Uh-huh.
Like if this person's admitted into the hospital and everything and they kind of run some stuff in there and they say, "Oh, we find out this person is suicidal." How is that hospital going to react to that? Is kind of like my question. Are they going to immediately throw them in a padded room? I mean, I know that sounds kind of extreme or what
No,
have you. Or are they going to kind of
yeah.
monitor if
Yeah.
they kind of put them under more monitoring and kind of like say, okay, if this person is suicidal, get a human being to them right now,
Hmm.
essentially. Like if they go that route, I mean, this could be a good thing right there.
Yeah.
But
Uh,
if they kind of overreact, like the human element behind the determination is kind of what I fear with this. But I think it does, like I said, have its place where they can integrate a human being sooner rather than later, because that would help out a
mhm.
great deal.
Brian, I'll share with you. Unfortunately, having been a former principal, I've been in the scenario where I have dealt with suicidal students. Fortunately, I never lost a kid due to suicide. Thank the Lord
Hmm.
for that. But I have been at the hospital, and I am aware that there are protocols for people when they are determined to be suicidal. So there is a system already in place, and
Hmm.
I know the hospitals are very quick to jump on that because we're very aware of it. And I'm not as worried about the hospital's reaction if they find out a
Hmm.
person is suicide. And what I loved about the way that Vanderbilt did this and how they explained it, it's doing what we want AI to do. Make those
Hmm.
connections quickly that we may not be able to make as a human being. And that's why I actually
Yeah.
like this. It's
Hmm.
probably privately looking at HIPAA data and saying, hey, just a heads up, probably puts a little bit of an asterisk next to it. This person could be suicidal based off these tendencies that we've seen that align with it.
Hmm.
That's exactly what we want AI to do. Make those
Yeah.
connections for us that we don't have
Hmm.
or can't think of. So that right there, I like that as a use of it, and I
Yeah,
think it's
no.
going to also move further. I don't think it's just going to be suicidal. I think we're going to see, oh look, you have a family history of these five things. Well, at this age, you really need to start your cancer testing
Hmm.
for this part of your body, or watch your heart health beginning at age 45, something like that. I think
Yeah.
it's that's the positive of this part.
Yeah, I think I mean that's a good point right there. But yeah, like the machine learning algorithm, um, it makes a lot of quick calculations, and that's really what
Hmm.
machine learning kind of gets brought into everything. And we're using it for machines and everything. And when you bring it into making this quick determination, they can, quickly, right off the bat determine, okay, we have an 80% um confidence rating that this person might be suicidal, and then they can notify somebody right away.
Hmm.
Because I think we all agree, like, the sooner you get somebody to talk to someone who is in this state of mind, the better your chances are, because, nobody wants
Agreed.
to see that happen. So
Right.
there is a big positive to this. And I think that's kind of where people need to kind of keep an open mind, is that we can use this to create that human intervention, which is so critical to someone who's potentially within this state of mind.
Hmm. Well, speaking of which, the next point that we have, this one came from the American Journal of Bioethics. They're cited a fair amount in what we've done and seen already, but this says along these lines, AI systems could predict and plan treatments accurately and effectively for all fields of medicine at levels similar to that of physicians and general clinical practices. So, one of the examples it gave was one AI model demonstrated higher diagnosis accuracy for depression and post traumatic stress disorder compared to general practitioners in controlled studies.
Hmm.
So,
That could be, a good starting point, I'd say, for a patient.
mhm,
I
yeah,
would say, whenever you go to a doctor, you always like tell them your information and everything, and you kind of lay it all on the line and everything, and they kind of do their own little calculation and make their own little determination and what have you. And if they keep like you keep seeing patterns and everything, like you might forget to tell the doctor something that you should have told them
right.
and everything like that. And if you switch doctors, then you're going in, with something to back it up, and you're not going into something blind here. Like a personal example here, I moved multiple counties away, so obviously I wasn't going to go to my former doctor or whatever, and I
Hmm.
needed to discuss this with the new doctor and everything. So, and going into a new doctor, you're completely starting over from scratch. They have to figure out all your health history and everything.
Right.
But, if you have uh, some sort of diagnosis coming into it, the doctor can pull that information and say, okay, here's where we're starting. Now I can, more accurately help you down the road, essentially.
I think it saves the doctor's time.
Hmm.
And I don't think this is just going to stay in the medical industry. I think this is going to get into the education industry. This is going to get into the business world. I think you're going to see these examples we're given is AI is taking data, making connections at an amazing rate, and it's going to save us time and it's going to help us pinpoint stuff a little more accurately and
Hmm.
hopefully get people treatment as quickly as possible. And I really
Yeah.
want to dive into this next one because this one has me a little excited. I feel like the jokes could really fly on this one. Okay.
Okay.
Again, from the American Journal of Bioethics. This is
Hmm.
interesting, this one. AI systems that analyze social media data are being developed to detect mental health risk and more efficiently and cost effectively across broader populations. So we're looking at social media data to detect mental health risks.
Uh, don't like it.
There,
I
it's
just don't like
noted
it
right after
whatsoever.
that there are ethical concerns, including uneven
Well,
performance with digital services, the possibility that biases could affect decision making, and trust, privacy, doctor-patient relationship issues.
mm, they well, tell you the thing, social media, some people take it more seriously than others,
This, I am
and
well aware of that. Yes,
I do not take my Facebook posting seriously.
I've
If you ever
noticed.
like if you like I've noticed that with you too as well, and I
I don't
think
take
we've
it
like
seriously. It's not
yeah,
supposed to be serious.
I think we've gone back and forth on this a little bit.
Yeah,
That's kind of what led us into starting this podcast, actually,
right.
was just sort of that facetious nature on
Yeah,
Facebook and everything. And, if you like, if you look at my Facebook page and you look at my LinkedIn page, you would think they're two different human beings. Like
yeah.
Facebook, I do not take seriously whatsoever. I make so many sarcastic remarks. I make so many lame jokes. I just like, yeah, I do say lame jokes because I do like to tell a lot of bad jokes, and I just have so much fun with it. So if you're going to determine my mental health based on my Facebook page, you're going to call 911 on me immediately and have them send the paddy wagon. Like,
I would have to agree. And if you saw mine, you'd be like, "Does this guy work?" Like,
yeah,
like,
yeah, like that's the
he
other
watches too
thing.
many movies. No.
Hmm.
Okay, so I was
But
thinking about this. I go, that's AI's job is to make connections. So does it actually like look at the comments or at people's pages, or does it do this? Does it say like this right here would scream to me, "Oh my God, this person's got a mental health issue." If you have a person who's a verified Pittsburgh Pirates fan, Cleveland
hmm
Browns fan, and like a Washington Wizards fan, I think right
hmm
there it screams this person's got a problem. Like
yeah,
depression, whatever. Like you know what I'm
yeah,
talking about?
basically, yeah,
Yeah, because
basically,
not only is it three different cities, but it's three franchises that you just cannot trust or get behind. And so I
yeah,
laugh. Does it make those kind of connections? Does it say something along the lines of, now I'm getting a little serious, but do these
yeah.
people post on specific boards? And as a result, what they're posting, does that determine if there's a
Hmm.
mental health problem? I don't think that data is as strong.
No,
Um,
it is such weak data. You
yeah.
cannot go off of this. And this was like kind of my issue with I'm not going to speak too negatively about another company. An issue with Grok I had was that they
Hmm.
were using X for like kind of model training or whatever and responses with their LLM and everything. And
Yeah.
I just did not like that whatsoever. I'm not saying that Grok is all negative. We
No,
had a
you remember
recent
we
issue.
for the recipe episode that we
It
did, Grok was
it gave us the
phenomenal.
best. It gave us the best thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
But to actually use social media, it's like the oh my gosh, the spider web of errors is
Right.
like unbelievable. You can't even fathom how many errors are going to be within this data. It is 100% unreliable. If, the CIA was doing an analysis and asked if this was credible intelligence, they would just immediately throw it in the garbage because they know it
Hmm.
wouldn't be. But no, not a good idea. No, I just not a good
Yeah.
idea.
And then what happens if I'm just thinking theoretically, what if we diagnose an AI chatbot with depression?
Yeah.
I mean, that's all up to the programming. All
Hmm.
right. So, with that said, those are three uses that we've heard about, read about, have been researched about, and I think my big takeaway with just those three was the making connections. That the medical people are somehow making connections with AI,
Hmm.
which, despite the social media thing, I don't know what I think of that. I don't like it. I think I don't like that. But the other
No.
two, I do like. It's you're
Yeah.
making connections with accuracy based on stuff that people may not consider. So
Yeah.
that I think is pretty safe.
Yeah, I think it's all like who's behind the data. Like if you have medical professionals
Right.
behind this data,
Yeah.
then I have confidence in that model right there. Social media, no, I don't have confidence in that model
No, I
whatsoever.
have to agree. Yeah.
We're just gonna like kind of leave that at that because we can have probably a whole movie about how bad that is. But no, I think the first 2 points are actually a good starting point for the medical field, as long as you have medical professionals behind this data,
hmm
essentially.
Okay, so now we're going to move into this is some of the stuff we've read and have heard about, and we're going to move into what are notable uses. So this is way in which individuals, maybe not necessarily the medical industry, but this is way individuals are using AI for their mental health. So again, we are not professionals, so we have to say that
Hmm.
just because we're talking about it doesn't necessarily mean you should do this. Okay,
Hmm.
we are just talking about what we've seen, what we've noted, what we've researched on the internet. And we're going to talk about it because there are some things here that could be used positively, but the entire next episode in the series is going to be the negatives that are coming with AI.
Hmm.
So the first one really kind of just addresses a problem, a true problem that is happening with mental health services. It's that the need is rising. The amount of professionals in the industry is not as high as it needs to be at this moment. Places where you live determine what kind of supports you have in place. And timing is a huge problem. I mean, if you have a mental health crisis at 12:30 in the morning, chances are your therapist isn't available, or a medical
Hmm.
professional is possibly not available unless you drive to a hospital. So what's been happening is people have been utilizing AI as a 24/7 accessibility and anonymity issue. So one of the things they've seen is that there are AI chatbots that provide round-the-clock anonymous support,
Hmm.
lowering barriers for users in isolated and underserved areas. And one of these devices, which I don't know much about, I did some research on it. It looks all right. I don't know. I haven't used it, and I'm not familiar with any former students using it or anything. It's called Trudy, Troodi, and this basically acts as an AI chatbot to help you with your mental health on your cell phone. So we have things like that. And by the way, this is non-paid. I just want to throw that out there. But
Hmm.
if Trudy wants to pay us, we will happily take whatever money or any gifts you send to us. I just want to throw that out there. That goes for
Hmm.
anybody. But Brian, what are your thoughts about an LLM that is designed to help you 24/7?
Um, I think that's a good kind of starting point, I would say.
Hmm. Yeah.
If you, like you said, 2:30 in the morning, your therapist might not be available. I know there's some of them, sometimes therapists, you can call them in the middle of the night and they answer and they'll talk to you or what have you,
Yeah.
but there's no guarantee they're going to wake up from that phone call or anything like that. So, having the accessibility, I think is something that people really need to see because when you have these sort of mental health services that aren't accessible to you, you're really
Yeah.
putting demographics at a disadvantage right there. I
Hmm.
mean, we can like talk about what demographics are, but you know, and like plus the kind of thing with high school kids, they like a lot of them don't want to go to a therapist. A lot of them don't want to talk to a therapist, like because they're just
Yeah.
like, you're like so much judgment at a younger age, and now you're feeling more judged, and this could like kind of create some anxious anxiety or what have you. But if you can like have this sort of chat bot right there, just to kind of be a little bit of support. I think high school kids can really benefit from
Hmm.
this because it's an awkward time in your life, so you're trying to like figure it out and
Yeah.
everything, trying to figure out your future. So if there's like some basic support, I mean, I kind of like it,
Yeah.
and
I
being
think you just
anonymous is a good thing.
I think you just hit a nail on the head, though. I think this is great for if you need low-level mental health support.
Hmm.
If you have some issues that are not suicidal, because once you get to that suicidal range, if you don't know, if anybody doesn't know, there are 24/7 suicide hotlines. They are
Hmm.
everywhere. You can call those. So if you are suicidal, please call that number. It varies in different parts of the country, but there is one available, and a professional will talk to you. I
Hmm.
think when you start using the AI for that, we may have an issue. because I'm not
Yeah.
sure I think that's where you need to hear somebody else's voice, the empathy from
Yeah.
listening to them.
Well,
But if it's low level, like you're having a crisis of confidence or a little bit of anxiety about something coming up, like going to school, a lot of kids are starting school at this time of year. So if you're
hmm
having that and you're having trouble sleeping, maybe that is the right tool to use at that point to just calm you down, put a note in a jar or
hmm
whatever the technique that they give them is, and then
Yeah.
go back to sleep, and then wake up in the morning, get a morning affirmation that things are going to be good, and move forward. I'm thinking if it's like that, that might not be so bad.
hmm
That's kind of where
Yeah.
I'm at with that first one.
Yeah, up to a certain level. I think
Hmm.
it like
Yeah.
could definitely help you up to a certain level. So
Yeah.
I think there are some positives to that. Just try not to create a dependency upon it because
Hmm.
once you get past a certain level, you need that human touch.
You do. Yeah.
And if you can kind of talk to it and sort of just kind of calm me down, just kind of help you with a little bit here and there, but don't replace it with don't use this to replace friendships or anything like that, which is kind of what I would encourage in that regard.
Correct. Correct. And then I'm going to move on to the next usage that we've seen. Now,
Hmm
this one I had to read a couple times because I was a little concerned with where it was getting the data, but then I realized after I did the example. So some people are using it as early detection and monitoring. So this is people themselves are using this. So summary of this would be AI analyzes language and behaviors over time to detect early signs of distress and prompt some intervention. So the example that it gave, which really cleared this up for me because I was a little going, what data are they looking at? So an example would be a user's changing sleep logs and tone are flagged by an AI app, which suggests seeking help. So if it takes
hmm
a look at your sleeping patterns and says maybe this isn't mental health, maybe this is medical, but it could be mental
hmm
health as well. So it gives suggestions based on that. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, this is something that's being used. People are basically uploading their health data into AI devices. I don't know if I would do that, but to each their own. And if it ends up getting you help, then you know what? That's great. That's great. And if it prompts you to do something and it works out and benefits you, that's really good.
hmm
That's really good.
Yeah, I know that's a lot of these fitness devices now.
Hmm.
They're like
Yeah.
tracking your sleep, they're tracking your steps, they're tracking your heart rate, they're tracking your patterns and everything like that. And they could, provide some advice a little bit here and there, like, oh, you're not sleeping enough, or oh, you're getting too much aerobic exercise, not enough sleep, or what have you. People also can load what they eat during the day.
Yeah.
Just kind of like give you some patterns and everything like that. Be like, okay, this past couple months you've been eating a little too much this or that. You might want to start balancing it out with, something over here. Um, where detecting all these patterns could be a good thing. How much of your personal life you want to put in there is kind of something I would be cautious of. But I do think that, if you're putting like accurate information, it could give you, once again, some sort of generalized guidance as to, going forward and what have you.
Hmm. I agree with you. Um, I do want to move to the next one
Hmm
because this one actually had some data behind it. So this is
Oh,
interesting
okay.
because this is one of the ones when I say it out loud to you, I think you may think this is the scary part, but hang
hmm
on as I read it all. So, something that is happening is people are using things like ChatGPT 4 or ChatGPT 5, and they're using AI chatbots. They're using them for cognitive behavior principles that can reduce anxiety and depression across populations. But Brian, there's some research
hmm
behind this in
Yeah.
Afghanistan, as you can imagine, where it
hmm
is very hard for women in particular. There's a lot of strict laws
hmm
on women. There's a lot going on in Afghanistan. I mean, we've talked about Afghanistan for 25 years now, and
hmm
there's a lot going on there. There has been a study that Afghan women using ChatGPT 4 as a supportive listener saw significant drops in anxiety and depression in their scores on these tests that they did against the focus group.
hmm Yeah, this kind of goes back to accessibility,
Hmm.
really, because I
Yeah.
mean, Afghan women, um, I know there's a lot of debate about how we kind of went into Afghanistan, how we left Afghanistan, or anything like that, but some of these countries, they just don't provide these services for them. and they have like
Right.
nowhere else to go.
Hmm.
And I can see like if you have nowhere else to go, like you almost have no choice essentially.
Yeah,
And
if there's nobody
this
around,
is yeah,
and
this is like a perfect demographic to, put the example, be like, they don't have humans, and this tells us a lot about humanity in general,
hmm
more than AI, is that, we created this, and now if they have access to this, then you know what? Like, do it. Like, if there's nothing else available for
yeah,
you, then I can't judge someone,
yeah.
especially in situations like this.
Now, if you live in a rural area, this is the only help you can get. And my favorite part about this, they were very clear in this study. Use it as a supportive listener, which is what a therapist
Mhm.
is.
Yeah.
It's a supportive listener, and that's what they were using it for. And I'm going to pivot slightly because I don't know if this has much to do with mental health, but recently I have heard on the news that CEOs of corporations are starting to use AI as their venting tool. Because as you can imagine, as you get higher on the pie chart or higher on the
Hmm.
flow chart within your organization, I've heard the phrase,
Hmm.
it's very lonely at the top. And I'll tell you what, when I was a high school principal, I could tell you it is lonely up there some days.
Hmm.
You have friends, you have support, but man, I would have loved to have just opened up ChatGPT and just vented into that, knowing it will keep the secret and be a
Hmm.
supportive listener and
Hmm.
tell me that I'm being unreasonable and then move on.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I've heard CEOs are using it like that, and I'm going, that makes sense. Because it
Yeah.
can keep a secret for the most part. I mean, I know
Yeah.
you're exposing data and situations, but it goes back to that supportive listener, I think.
Hmm. Yeah. And like I said, I can't judge. If you just need to vent, um, then that's a good tool. Just like vent to it,
Hmm.
and it could be like, okay, do you really want to do this? And then it kind of sits there. It's like, no, that is a very bad idea for me to do that.
Yeah.
But if you just like, they say let it out. Like you hear these
Yeah.
rage rooms. Like you've heard of the rage rooms where people just like,
Is that where you
they
just
take
go in and you
trash.
scream and then you do say whatever you want, like throw your
It's,
arms around or
yeah, and then you like grab a baseball bat and just start smashing garbage everywhere and just kind of just
oh
like let it out.
oh
Just
well
let it
in
out.
Cleveland we call that Muni Lot after the Browns game.
Oh, okay. Yeah, no
Speaking of
comment. No
which,
comment.
maybe all Browns fans now that the season's coming up should just vent to ChatGPT as the
Yeah,
season
yeah.
goes on.
Yeah, but it's like I mean I could see like if you just like let it out, just let it
Yeah,
out, and
yeah,
the response isn't like, oh, how could you do that? You're so horrible. And then it's like, yeah, whatever, I'm a horrible person. But if you just let it out and like you have a chatbot who says, okay, why don't you just chill? Like, I understand why you feel this way, but you
yeah.
don't want to actually do what you're talking about doing. And then that could be like, okay, now I can move forward. And, sometimes you just need to scream. And
You do, you
and
do.
and when you can scream at something or someone and the feeling you don't hurt their feelings, then I think that's a good thing. Because if you like went home and screamed at, a friend or a spouse or a family member or anything, you could like potentially like,
Yeah,
you know, hurt their feelings and their like
right.
emotionally, and you don't want to do that to somebody.
I
So if you
agree.
can like yell at a robot who
Yeah,
doesn't have feelings, then maybe that could be a good thing.
I think
I
that could be a
mean,
good thing. I think it would help
yeah.
I mean, as severe as a thing of as depression in Afghanistan, it would help an individual so that they're not bringing their problems home and unleashing their anger on their families, or
Hmm.
significant others, or whatever, or their pets. There's lots of that. So,
Yeah.
uh, at first, I was like, "Oh dear, I don't know if I like that." And then when I read into it, I'm going, "Okay, they're using it as a supportive listener and somebody actually listening. It's a little bit of
Yeah.
empathy." But you know what? If you're using it on that small scale, as we said, I think you're
Hmm.
okay with this. And
Yeah. I mean,
yeah, I'm not mad at that idea.
yeah, no, you might need to, some points you might need to get get a therapist or whatever,
Hmm.
especially if you get, busted at a concert or what have you. But, you could you use it to a certain level. Like I think like is the kind of common theme throughout this episode really is like up to a certain level is
Uh-huh.
sort of like the idea that I think really we need to get across there is up to a certain level.
So let's jump to that next level with how people are using it.
Hmm.
Augmenting empathy in peer support. So AI tools can coach peer supporters to respond more empathetically in text-based mental health crisis. So let me explain what's actually happening here. It's not the individual
Okay.
seeking it, it's the person who they're reaching out to give them, like, a friend texts you and says, I need help, and you're not sure how to respond empathetically. So you
Hmm.
put it into AI first and then respond with that empathy in mind.
Yeah, I mean, I can see. Yeah, yeah, this is kind of a tricky one right here. I think this would be a tougher nut to crack, essentially, because now you're someone's coming for you for something, and now you're trying to respond to them, and you might say something that's not quite helpful.
Right.
So you put into a chat bot, be like, "This is what my friend or family member said to me, and this is how I want to respond. What do you?" What do you think of that?
Hmm.
And it could say, okay, you worded this kind of this way. This could be sort of a trigger. So what if you remove these three words right here, it would sound less triggering and
Right.
still keep your thoughts together because not everybody's trained in mental health, not everybody's trained
Correct. Yeah. Not.
psychiatrist or anything like
No.
that. And if a friend or family member comes to me, I do want to help them.
Yeah.
And I'll admit it's kind of awkward sometimes, when they're like going through something and I'm trying to talk to them, be like, I don't know what to say. I'll give you a hug. Okay, sure, give me a hug.
Yeah.
And that only goes so far, but I would kind of say this, that, or the other, and maybe this could help me, a little bit. Be like, okay, I like what you did here, but say leave this out of it and just say this. I
Hmm.
think in that regards we can go through with that.
I wished I would have thought of this. Recently, my brother approached me about this nasty rash he can't seem to get rid of, and I wished I would have. I'm teasing, by the way. My brother doesn't have a rash anymore. He AI'd it and it's gone. No, but on a serious note, what I like about this is you're using AI as a tool that we've asked you to use it as a tool. You're not
Hmm.
sure what to do, so you're trying to get something around you to respond for you in a correct manner. And
Yeah.
maybe AI would encourage you to ask a couple extra questions to make sure this child or person reaching out to you is not suicidal.
Yeah.
So at first, when I read this, I thought it was the user using AI to get an empathetic response, which
Hmm.
is possible, and we're going to talk about that in probably another episode. But I did like that this one talked about how people are using it to help them with peer-to-peer interaction, which is going to be important because as these children grow up, they are not interacting as peer-to-peer as you and I did when we were in school. There is
Oh yeah.
much more texting, much less face-to-face talking.
Yeah.
It drives me nuts at times, but
Hmm.
it is interesting.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, I mean, I can see also like, going back to a teacher standpoint, you're trying to help students or what have you, and you're trying to, you know, you want to help them, and your student keeps saying this, that, or the other to you. You could kind of put that in a chat bot and say, I've been doing this, what am I doing wrong here? And
mhm.
it could give some advice in that way because teachers, I'm sure that they're taught some level of therapy. I'm not really sure if they're
There is,
really
there
kind of
is.
trained.
I work at a place called Behavioral Health Associates, and I will tell you,
Okay.
there's lots of training that goes into it, and
Okay.
there's a lot of training that goes into it.
Hmm.
Everything from how you respond to when it's time to make the phone calls.
Okay.
They're heavily trained, which is good. But I would say better
Okay.
trained than an AI device. But if you
Okay.
don't have that training, if you don't
Hmm.
have it, you may need if it's one of those moments, if you're in the moment, you may need to use an AI tool to help you respond. I guess I'd
Hmm.
be okay with that.
Yeah, I mean, I can see, you go through a lot of training and what have you, but you know, it's kind of like something we've stated many times before. The better you are at something, if you use, it will make you better use that AI tool to help you with that.
Hmm.
Like if you're if you're using AI to help you write, computer code, the more you learn about coding, the better you can use that AI tool to help you code better.
Yeah.
And I think the same goes with this right here.
Hmm.
So that's kind of I can see it being used. I'd like to see more examples, like
Me
kind of
too.
how it's developing, but
Yeah.
I think yeah, it definitely has a place as well.
That one wasn't as strong of a resource, but nevertheless,
Hmm.
I know people have used it because there were several examples. But this next one, we've only got two more. This next one, second to last, this one came from the Washington Post. So this is where the Washington
Hmm.
Post is the source of this, and you've probably seen several of these out there.
Hmm.
It's called Personalized Treatment and Predictive Insight. So the summary would be that AI can tailor recommendations on data, potentially improving interventions and guiding planners. So an example is an app that would suggest self-help strategies based on prior mood patterns specific to the user. And believe it or not, there's lots of apps like this already out there. They have
Hmm.
kind of been out there. There is one I'm very familiar with that if you hook up your what is it, your heart monitor that's on your iPhone or your wristwatch or whatever it is,
Hmm.
if it plays music and it can tell if you're starting to get anxious, so it plays a music that is naturally calming to the mind as
Hmm.
it tells that you're doing that. That's the type of stuff that they're talking about here. There's actually quite a few of these apps that I was reading about when I read the Washington Post article.
Yeah, this is kind of a tough nut to crack, really. 'Cause yeah, like you said, it's like, kind of using the watch and what have you, and that sort of like tailors some
Mhm.
music and everything like that.
In that
Um,
specific example, yes. There is another one where you just type your general, it asks you some questions and you just type your general mood and all that kind of stuff. And
mhm.
then it gives you like a either an affirmation or something along those lines.
Yeah, and you're on your data. Like
That's
what
the thing.
data? Like
Yeah.
what's your data? Like your health data. Like what are your preferences and like music and what have you? Like where were you in second grade? Who is your eighth grade science teacher? Like all this stuff. I mean I'm kind of ranting off the cuff here, but all these tailored recommendations based on data. I think this is kind of towing the line of where
Hmm.
we've kind of kept that central theme as to up to a certain point. And this is kind of like saying, okay, how much further can we take this? Like, can we raise
Well,
this level? Can we raise this level?
yeah.
And I would kind of be cautious on this because I can see prior mood patterns and everything like that. So what if you just start using this watch and all of a sudden you go through a very stressful time in your life, like you
Hmm.
lose your job and then you found out your car needs like $1,500 worth of damage, and then that's like kind of like the first month you're using this device and what have you.
Yeah.
It's going to give you some very different sort of recommendations because it just met you.
Hmm.
And and this isn't
Yep.
who I am. You don't get fired from your job all the time. You don't get like a car totaled all the time. So
Hmm.
that's kind of where I would say th this kind of challenges what we would say up to a certain point.
I
And
think
this,
we're venturing into next week's episode with this
yeah,
last these last
yeah.
two. This one we're starting it. And my thing is with mental health, we want to get it to the point where we don't need a tool to get through our day to day.
Hmm.
And then how does that work when you start to use things that are customized to you and then your body gets used to it? Uh, Again,
Hmm.
it's not just the data thing for me. It's how do you get your dependency away from the AI and onto
Hmm.
yourself as a person?
Yeah.
And then when we get to this last one, we're kind of in that realm of, oh, should we be doing this or not? And that is
Hmm.
bridginal emotional insight when therapy is completely out of reach. So we're not
Hmm.
talking about it as a supportive listener in this one. We're actually talking about it to use it to process your emotions, develop coping skills when traditional therapy is not accessible. So what we're saying is you're this isn't the Afghanistan situation where you're looking for an
Hmm.
active listener. This is the real, you're trying to substitute it as your therapist.
Hmm.
I know where I stand on that. I don't like that idea.
No.
There's a lot of telehealth stuff, but I am sitting here going, you know what? There's probably no telehealth in a lot of places. In the United States, Canada, I'm sure, Australia, I'm sure there is. But in
Yeah.
other parts of the world, there's probably not. But chances are there's going to be internet and AI at some point. So
Yeah.
I think we've hit that point where we're going to start to talk about, oh boy, this could get negative. A person with good self-discipline, maybe it'll be okay, but
Yeah.
I'm
This
not sure.
is this I think is that step above what we've been saying this whole time up to a certain point.
Hmm.
This is beyond that certain point.
Yeah.
In my mind, I think this like type of development right here, is a bit kind of going over, kind of challenging that certain point a little bit, and I'm not really fond of it, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
Maybe if maybe if you're going to a therapist and they feed the data or suggestions themselves,
Hmm.
that could help you. Like, they're not available, but they feed your data and your information and their advice into this AI chatbot, and then you can use it that way, maybe.
Maybe.
I can see maybe that, like, you're a therapist, like for example, and you have a client that wants to talk and everything, and they want to talk at 2 in the morning, but your phone isn't ringing or it didn't
Hmm.
wake you up and what have you. Then they can go to maybe this chatbot where you've helped tailor this AI chatbot for them as a client, or as a like kind of like the patient client, is that it, like client,
Yeah, I think it's HIPAA, which is basically your
yeah,
your
yeah,
confidentiality and your
yeah,
medical data and everything's covered under that rule. I think that's
doctor
what we're
client, doctor client.
doctor-client
Yes,
privilege.
yes,
Okay.
I was like patient client. I'm like, that's the same exact thing. You can tell I'm not in this industry at all, but maybe something along the regards of that. We can maybe do it, but this is something like I think you really need to be careful of.
So to me, this was the first one we've came to where I would say this is a coin flip and it's 50-50.
Hmm.
And when it comes to my mental health, if I can have something that's not 50-50 and
Hmm.
more beneficial and better, I think I would explore a different option other than this. But this
Yeah.
was the one where I said this one I can't fully get behind, but I do understand that seeing a therapist is just not a thing in a lot
Hmm.
of places in the world, and maybe even in the U.S. more than we realize.
Yeah.
So that's my takeaway, and then we're wrapping up here, but we're getting
Hmm.
into the weeds of next week's episode when we discuss the negative stuff that we're seeing with mental
Yeah.
health and AI.
Yeah, I think we kind of slowly reached that negativity point. Like
Yeah.
there's a lot of positives to this, I think.
There are the connections that the
And
LLMs make to diagnose people accurately,
hmm
and it's
yeah.
only going to get better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think, like, actually taking out of an LLM, I don't think an
Hmm.
LLM is really a good thing. I think a dedicated language model, a DLM,
Oh, there you
I
go.
think
A very specified. Yes,
yes, we've touched it where it
that's
only
right.
does mental health. I think that is really the way to go. And if we do dedicated language models just for mental health, I think that would go a long way into this becoming more acceptable.
Hmm.
But I think, like, I repeated it, and I like to repeat myself sometimes up to a certain point. Like
Hmm.
this, I would only want this up to a certain point, because yeah, at some point, um, you need a human being to have that connection.
I think we all agree on that. I don't think there's no dispute from me on that one.
Yeah, exactly. But also, before we send it off, keep social media out of this. Um, like just keep social media out of this, please. I am begging everybody. Like,
Yeah.
because like I said, if you looked at my social media, you would want to like literally send me away in a straitjacket sometimes based on the jokes I make. But either way, I had to go out on a lighter note. We'd like to thank everybody for taking your time out of your day to stop by and listen to us. My name is Brian,
And I am Adam.
and we will see you next time on the Layman's AI.